Good day, everyone. Since we've just discussed verbal and nonverbal communication, it's important to remember that the way we speak or use language can vary depending on who we are, where we're from, and what social group we belong to. This brings us to our next topic, varieties of language. A language variety simply means a version or form of a language that has developed because of social, historical, geographical, or cultural influences. It shows how language adapts to the needs of different groups, giving each community its own linguistic identity. Think of it like fashion. Just as people in one region may prefer a certain style of clothing, they may also prefer certain ways of speaking. Every part of language, from pronunciation to vocabulary, can vary. Now, Heidery and Barzan describe several types of language varieties, such as dialects, pidgins, and creoles. Dialects in particular make one group of speakers stand out from others who technically speak the same language. For example, Americans say apartment, while the British say flat. Even within dialects, there are four levels. Regional dialects are tied to a specific area, like how Ilocano differs from Cebuano in the Philippines. Minority dialects, also called ethnolects, are tied to ethnic groups. Social dialects or socialects are connected to class, profession, or age, like how teens might use slang such as slay or rees, while older generations don't. And finally, idiolects, which are unique to each person, much like your personal texting style or favorite expressions. At this point, let's pause and reflect. Have you ever noticed differences in the way people speak through accent, word choices, or expressions? How did that affect your impression of them? And what did it teach you about language variety? Understanding these differences is important, especially for language learners. Han reminds us that noticing how others use language helps us connect with them better. For instance, someone who says "I'll text you later" versus "I'll ping you later" may reveal not only where they learned English, but also which social group they belong to. Now let's add some history. When English speakers first interacted with Asian communities, pidgins, simplified mix of languages, were created for basic communication. Over time, this evolved into distinct English varieties, especially in colonies like India, Singapore, and yes, the Philippines. In our case, Philippine English blended with local culture, producing unique expressions like comfort room for restroom. To us, that sounds perfectly normal, but to Americans or Brits, it sounds unusual. So here's another question for you. Since the Philippines has a long history of colonization, how do you think Philippine English reflects these influences? In what ways do these local features represent our culture and identity? To better understand the global spread of English, linguist Braj Kashru introduced the three concentric circles model. Here's how it works. The inner circle includes countries where English is the native language, like the US, UK, or Australia. The outer circle includes countries where English is a second language and has an official or institutional role, such as the Philippines and India. And the expanding circle includes countries where English is treated as a foreign language, mainly for global communication, such as Japan and China. The importance of English in each circle varies depending on history, such as colonial expansion or even technological progress during the Industrial Revolution. Now here's what it's really interesting about this. Post-colonial Englishes like Philippine English or Singapore English develop their own flavors. For grammars, you might notice unusual word order or skip articles like she go market instead of she goes to the market. Vocabulary also differs. Singapore English has the word axi for show off. Philippine English uses blowout to mean treating someone to food. And Malaysian English uses popcorn to describe a talkative person. Even pronunciation varies. Many Asian Englishes use a syllable time rhythm instead of the stress time rhythm of British or American English, making them sound a bit more musical. All of this just proves that English is not just one global language. It's a mirror of local culture and identity, shaped by history and everyday life. Now that we've looked at varieties of English, let's move forward to a related topic, language registers, or the levels of formality we use when communicating.